Where better to be on a summer's day than Hampton Court Palace for a preview of this year's RHS Flower Show. So here on BBC Two and on the BBC HD channel, join Monty Don for all that's new.
It's July, high summer, and time for the RHS Hampton Court Flower Show, now in its 22nd year. And as well as all the incredible flowers that you could possibly grow, this year there's a real emphasis on edible plants and a celebration of the wildlife that we can bring into our gardens.
And it's not only the Hampton show gardens that are a feast for the eyes. Here in the floral marquee are some dazzling summer displays for the visitors to enjoy.
Hampton Court is the largest gardening show in the UK with an incredible range of exhibits. And tonight, Rachel, Joe and myself will be giving you a special preview of its highlights. Coming up, Joe and I look at the medal contenders in the large show gardens. We should be looking at the inspiration behind the conceptual gardens, which is a category unique to Hampton Court. And Rachel catches a glimpse of the new arrivals in the floral marquee. Hello and welcome to the 2011 RHS Hampton Court Flower Show. Now, of course, it's set in the grounds of this fabulous palace, surrounded by 750 acres of beautiful deer park. Show opens tomorrow and remains open until Sunday. But the three of us have had a chance to have a quick peek around, and what struck me initially was that the show gardens themselves are of very high quality. The finish is good.
They look really good to me. The conceptual gardens, which I'm always interested in because this show is sort of pioneering and it's spreading conceptual design into mainstream design in a way. Now this is where art and gardening sort of crosses over, and there's 9 this year and they look pretty good too from what I've seen.
And of course not just design, it's plants, and I've been in the floral marquee. It is a sea of blooms as far as you can see. It's extraordinary, so definitely a sight worth seeing.
Well, I'm sure there'll be lots of gold medals inside the floral marquee, and there were last year, but outside last year, only one of the major show gardens was awarded gold. So this year, quite a lot of anxiety and the stakes are high, and Joe and I have been round to see how the gardens are looking. This garden is called the Stockman's Retreat, and it's designed by Chris Beardshaw. And as you would expect of anything by Chris, it's beautifully done. And as you walk past and look through, you gaze through a perfect mixed border, mainly herbaceous perennials. All the levels varied, the colours harmonising. And then looking through it, you see this charming little cottage. But you do need to come round to the side and have a look, because there's a winding track, the sort of thing that you just glimpse as you're on a walk. And what strikes me about it is the degree of skill and sophistication that goes into making show gardens nowadays, and particularly to make it look as though it's completely natural. There are weeds growing between the stones, the dry stone wall is tumbling down. There really is an incredible skill in making it look as though nothing has happened. There's so much going on here that if you just walk by, you'll only get half of it.
This is a fabulous garden from first-timers Caroline Comer and Petra Horakova, and it's highlighting Peace One Day, which is a charity that does international work about bringing harmony to the whole world. And I love the way they've got the theme and run with it, but it's not too obvious. So in the planting, it's been separated out by these Corten steel circles, and initially they're completely separate, but then they start mingling together. The largest rounded border at the front incorporates all the plants in this garden and shows that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. An important message there. And these birch are just wonderful. Now, birch have been overused, in my opinion, in show gardens, but this is Albo sinensis fascination, and it's the perfect choice of plants, creating a canopy over the whole garden. I have to say, it's a fantastic effort from some first-timers.
There are show gardens that merely try to impress you with their beauty, and others that have a powerful message to send out. Well, the Plant and Protect garden does both, because its message is very powerful and strong, which is that we should grow more apples. But also, it's beautiful. And it really shows how that fruit, and apple trees in particular, can combine to make a lovely garden. I particularly like the way that it flows from the edge, where you have this mixed hedge and the long grass and the apple trees, and then you move into the central area, which is very sophisticated, but it has the idea of a leaf and the water. So there's a lot going on, but you never feel overwhelmed either by the design or the message. It just works perfectly, all of a piece.
This is Bruce Waldock's virtual reality garden, and obviously it's got a really strong Japanese theme here. Bamboos, maples and boxballs are the only plants used, very low maintenance plants. But Japanese gardens take their inspiration from the landscape, the natural world beyond, and they are recreated on a micro scale. So here we've got rocks and the paddlestone path, but also the gravel that has been used to fill all the voids in between. But actually, this is a resin bonded gravel. It lets the water through, but it all stays in one shape so you can walk on it. And at the back of the garden, we've got Bruce's bauble with a cherry blossom motif on the outside. It's a garden pod really, but the idea is that we've got a world within a world. So here there's a computer connected up to the internet, and it'll take you into cyberspace. Now remember, tonight's programme is just a sneak preview of what we're offering at this year's show, because there'll be two in-depth programmes from Hampton on Thursday and Friday this week. In those we'll be taking a closer look at all the gardens here, large, small, the conceptual with their thought-provoking designs, and those dedicated to our greatest poets. Now in 2009, one designer, Fiona Stevenson, got visitors here talking about her small sustainable garden entitled Oak Tree Lying in State. 2 years on, she's back in the larger show garden category with an equally strong environmental message. Fiona is working in conjunction with the leading conservation charity, the WWF, formerly known as the Worldwide Fund for Nature. Together they aim to highlight the importance of water conservation and specifically our natural chalk streams, which meant a trip for Fiona to the River Itchen in Hampshire.
Chalk streams are a habitat that are found in the south of England, and they're characterised by very clear water, water that's been filtered through aquifers over a long period. So when the water re-emerges, it's very clear, very clean, pure, cool, filtered, and able to support abundant wildlife. But the problem is that a lot of water is taken out of the aquifers to supply domestic housing and industry. So there's not enough water in aquifers for both, because too much water is being abstracted. Chalk streams are a disappearing or at least threatened habitat. In places they are actually drying up altogether. The habitat that we're creating at Hampton Court is going to evoke the spirit of English countryside. We're including an area of meadow, and meadows are a thing that were part of a chalk stream habitat, not a natural habitat but an agricultural one. This is a typical chalk stream meadow, and what I'm really looking for that I can recreate in the show garden is the way that the plants swathe and group together. So clearly here we've got a nice group of irises, and then it moves into meadowsweet, and then much finer leaves of sedge, and back into irises. And it's that real feeling of texture and light and shade that I want to try and create in the garden. One of the characteristics of this part of the Itchen are these Carex paniculata, the tussock grasses. They're almost like big hair, quite fun. We were here a few weeks ago digging up some. It was a real mission to dig them. It took about 7 people to dig up one, and we've promised to replace them, and they're growing on nicely, so they'll be in the show garden. In order to create a believable chalk stream feeling, the 2 elements that we need to be achieving are clarity of the water, a fastness of flow, and within that these bright emerald green sculptural plants within the water. These water plants are just amazing. The water starwort, the very cushiony plates formed by them. The water parsnip is more on the bottom, and the water crowfoot is long and willowy and meandering and waving through the water. It's just beautiful. I will be very happy if the garden, when it's finished, looks believable, even if it has a few percent of the beauty and serenity and inspiration that one feels from going to a real chalk stream. I'll feel as if I've really achieved something.
Well, I must say, Fiona, you've achieved a wonderfully naturalistic garden. Are you pleased with it?
Thank you, Rachel. I'm very pleased with it.
Now tell me a little bit about these metal spheres that are dotted throughout the garden.
Well, what we're doing here is taking the spheres away from the stream, and they're representing water droplets.
Ah.
So the way they come out of the stream, they're getting bigger and bigger, really making the scale of the problem be more apparent.
What about the planting?
Well, I've used planting that is, again, larger in scale. So I've deliberately used the biggest miscanthus I can find to help enlarge the scale around the spheres.
I love the thalictrum as well because it's so beautifully airy. And you're attracting so much wildlife into this garden.
It's full, isn't it? It's lovely today to see all the bees and crane flies and dragonflies in here.
Well, let's go a bit closer to the stream and see how that looks. It's brilliant, isn't it? You wanted it to be quite rapid, didn't you?
Yes, we're now travelling at 15 litres a second. Makes you realise how much water there is in a real stream.
It looks beautiful. You've got that lovely clarity. I know that you've won a gold medal here before. So do you feel under some pressure to achieve that with this garden?
Yes, I know that we're taking a risk because we're leaving much more decayed foliage in than we normally would for a show garden setting. But I'd rather do that and make it feel more naturalistic.
Well, I think you've got the balance just about right.
Thank you.
Rose, you're from the WWF. How bad is the problem that we're trying to highlight with this garden?
Well, chalk streams are unique. There are only about 200 in the whole world, and most of them are here in England. And as well as being incredibly important for biodiversity, they're also a key source of our water supply. And what we're really hoping this garden will do is inspire people to think about where water comes from and make that connection between the water that they use at home in their gardens and the water in the natural environment like the chalk stream.
Of course, gardeners are going to be very torn because they want to help with conservation, but they also need to water their gardens. So what can we do to help?
Well, it's really important that gardeners use water wisely and make sure every drop counts. Simple things like making the most of rainwater and making sure that they use the right amount of water on the right plants at the right times. And of course, we've got to remember that gardens are really special environments too. It's a really great way that people can enjoy nature right in their backyard.
Well, I'm so glad you said that. Very best of luck with the garden. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
One of the most interesting exhibits at the show is John Wheatley and Anita Foy's edible garden. Now, it's much more than just one garden, and in fact you could argue it's much more than just edible plants. Apart from anything else, the scale is enormous. There are lots of different sections ranging from a hop yard with a slither of barley field, a pond, an orchard, and I like the way that connections are made beyond just the growing plants. So for example, we've got a cider press to take the fruits of the orchard. We see baskets made from willow that's grown. And of course there is conventional gardening in it too. We've got flowers mingled in with vegetables, but at the same time it challenges our ideas of what is possible to grow in the garden. So a lavender field with olives. This is saying perhaps this is what we could be doing in our gardens with climate change. Same way with the vineyard. And I particularly like the way that it breaks the boundaries of what we might be doing on our allotments or our back gardens and includes all kinds of aspects of British life. Really good and stimulating. Now, coming up on tonight's programme, Rachel is in the floor marquee checking out some exciting new additions.
My eye's been caught by this Spiralsia incana.
And we're meeting Anushka Pfeiler, who's making her very first show garden, despite expecting to give birth to twins any day now. Now, if you've got any reactions to the show, any pictures or any comments, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by going to our website at bbc.co.uk/Hampton Court, and we'll try and include as many of them as possible later on in the week.
Hampton Court has the largest of the RHS floral marquees. This space is roughly the size of a football pitch, and there are 92 exhibitors, each showing their own form of seasonal colour. But for one of the exhibitors who's here at Hampton Court only for the second time, well, that seasonal colour has to come in the shape of Hemerocallis.
I've always been keen on plants. Since I was a child, I had an allotment with my grandfather, and we used to grow vegetables, and I used to exhibit at the local flower shows. And just recently we dug out some old pictures from the loft, which goes back to those days. In my previous life, I worked for a supermarket. I used to travel the world looking after quality issues on flowers, looking at perhaps roses and carnations in Kenya. I always envied the growers that I used to visit. I thought it was a wonderful way of life, having a nursery and attached to where you live, no commute, and I really wanted to do that. This is the lifestyle I used to dream about. My family all involved, works at the bottom of the garden. It's the dream lifestyle. I always liked Hemerocallis. I started out with an orange one, a yellow one and a red one, 3 varieties that I still grow, and they're responsible for me getting hooked. My mission really is to communicate to gardeners what wonderful plants Hemerocallis are. There's a huge range of colours, size of flowers, extended flowering period. The main flowering starts in late June and goes on through July to August. A lot of the new varieties have what they call a rebloom habit, where it will send up another spike with further flowers and then possibly a spike beyond that. So potentially they could continue flowering until the frost. The netting is an idea I picked up from growers I visited in Kenya. It just provides a bit of protection from the wind and the sun and keeps the plants that little bit cleaner. Hemerocallis are really difficult to get timed just right for the show. It depends a lot on the weather. As soon as you move them, the flowers are inclined to close and they don't look nearly as good as they are at home. And so it's a matter of growing numbers and being able to select the correct plants on the day. This is a variety I'm hoping to have for Hampton Court. It's called Shadows of the Pyramids. It's a new variety. It's got a washed eye, beautiful colour, beautiful form of flower, which in my opinion is much improved on the old-fashioned varieties. Hemerocallis aren't really affected very much by pests and diseases. Whilst they're members of the lily family, they don't get lily beetle. One of the problems that they do get is a recent pest that arrived in this country, is gall midge. And if you see buds that are swollen, the thing to do is to snap them off, put them in a poly bag, put it in the rubbish. Don't put them on the compost heap because the bugs in this thing will hatch out and reinfect for next year. Last year I displayed Hemerocallis for the first time at Hampton Court and I got a silver gilt. The challenge this year is to go better. I've got a bigger site, I've got more plants, I'll be trying that bit harder.
Hi Paul, plenty of blooms, plenty of good colour, but Hemerocallis is such a tricky plant to show, isn't it?
They're great garden plants, lovely at home, but you start moving them to a show, they're really difficult. You put them in a van and move them and they're inclined to sulk. But it's a matter of growing enough plants to be able to select from.
Now, some people see them as a very traditional plant and don't quite know how to, maybe use them in a more contemporary setting or update them in a way. What would you say to that?
A lot of people know the old-fashioned orange and yellow varieties, but there's a lot of improvements become available in recent years. A lot of the new varieties, such as All-American Chief or Sabine Burr, have a tremendous range of colours, beautiful eyes and edges, and a lovely flower form. And really my mission is to get the gardeners to understand the modern varieties that are available now.
There are some beauty. All-American Chief, I like that. So it's not so much about the medal, it's more about just showing people your passion for Hemerocallis and trying to get them involved.
It is, to bring to gardeners' attention the wonders that are available in Hemerocallis these days.
Well, good luck with them, and thanks for bringing them.
Thanks, Joe.
But of course, these wonderful hemerocallis are not the only midsummer blooms that flower at this time of year. As you walk in the marquee, you're bowled over by flowers that peak right now. And before the show opened, Rachel had a good look around.
Some of the displays in here are impossible to miss. Just look at these dahlias. Such a variety of shape and, of course, colour. And I think they must be one of the star performers in the mid and late season garden. I grow them in a mixed border, but I also have a small bed that's packed with them in my kitchen garden, so I've got plenty to cut for the house. Well, I found something just a little bit different here on the Lockyer stand, and they're showing here at Hampton Court for the first time this year. These are all spiky members of the Solanum family, and you can see that these sharp spines go all the way up and down the stems and across the leaf surface. Now this one, which comes from South America, is Purpureum, but its common name is purple devil, which I think speaks volumes. This is one from Africa, and it's snake apple. So I think it does tell you that although they're from the same family as potatoes and tomatoes, you can see that from the flower, I wouldn't recommend eating these fruits because they're toxic. If you do fancy having a go at these, well, they grow well from seed. Put them in a pot and keep them on the patio so that then they can be moved over winter because they need protection. They're not hardy. But when you do move them, watch out for those spikes. Hoplys have a wonderful display of mid and late season flowers like this salvia and the sanguisorba, the flattened heads of the achillea. But my eye's been caught by this Spiralcia incana, and it's that combination of apricot flowers and grey-green foliage that I think is really quite unusual. It'll do best in a nice warm shelter position, and it likes a nice open gritty soil. Harvey's garden plants are showing this stunning double echinacea. It's called hot papaya, very aptly named, I think. And within its lineage are these two species echinaceas. We've got Paradoxa, which comes from the central southern states of America, places like Texas. Very warm, so it sends down a long taproot to search out moisture. And then this one is Purpurea, which comes from further north and towards the east. It's much more temperate climate, so the root system there is more fibrous. And that's what this one has inherited, so it's much better suited to growing in our climate. And in fact, it's the first with this sort of orange colouring to have that characteristic. And it looks beautiful here against the backdrop of that dark dahlia foliage. So there we are, a perfect planting combination to try at home.
Hampton has become known for its conceptual gardens. Now, these are the provocative designs that challenge our traditional notion of a garden. There are 9 this year, the most ever shown at Hampton, and for one of its new designers, it has not been without its challenges. Anushka Filer found out literally days after the RHS had accepted her design that she was expecting twins. Now, when it comes to help, they say mum's the word, but in Anushka's case, it was her dear old dad that was the first port of call.
I chose to do the concept garden category because I think it's a very exciting area of garden design.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky.
Excuse me while I kiss the sky is a fantastic quote from Jimi Hendrix that really encapsulates what I want the garden to feel like. What I wanted to create a space that people come into that allows a sense of being able to see things from a different perspective. Concept design really allows you to make a statement beyond the norm. You can just go as bonkers as you like, and I think that's really a freeing principle. The concept behind the boundary is to have a mirror at 45 degrees in a circle around the garden. The effect, hopefully, that will be created is that of a sky reflecting all the way around the boundary. I went to a set designer and they came back with a fantastic quote of £25,000, at which point I thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I thought I'll give my old dad a call and see what he thinks about this problem.
Anushka phoned me one Sunday morning and I knew straight away what she was after, but I had to play hard to get.
He's wonderfully talented with his hands. He loves working with wood and loves unique projects. So I was hoping that I might persuade him.
She seemed to think that I wouldn't really want to be involved in it, but deep down I would have been desperately cross if I wasn't. It was really about trying to work out what she wanted and try and work out the best way I could do it.
I have two different areas for planting. The first area is the ground level planting, which is a sea of agapanthus, which are have lovely blue heads. The other plants that I'm using are the plants for the upside down garden. The upside down planting did provide a bit of a challenge in that obviously as soon as you turn the plants upside down they're going to be in shady conditions. So I've chosen plants that are particularly tolerant of part shade. I went for hostas and ferns. I love the way that hostas and ferns have fantastic colour variations in green, from blue to more yellowy greens, and I wanted to create a very large textural ceiling which have hints of blue, so I've then picked on a few different varieties such as a campanula and a tradescantia to bring out some blue and tie it all into the rest of the garden. I found out the same week that I was doing Hampton Court that I was also pregnant with twins. So I will be about 4 weeks off full term with the twins when the show is on. And hopefully, even if I hang myself upside down, I will still be there.
Well, you are here, all three of you, at the show. But of course, you must have had a lot of help with the build.
My friends and family, they've all been hands on deck for the last 2 weeks. I couldn't have done it without them.
What about the title of the garden?
Yes, "Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky" is a Jimi Hendrix quote, and I got it because I used the metaphor, the sky's the limit, as an inspiration for the garden, and every element is about seeing the sky, and if you want to have a big idea, you really got to reach for the sky and go for it.
The idea of having plants hanging down, where did that come from?
Well, I was on a trip to Venice and I went into a room and I was handed a mirror, and when I looked in the mirror I could see this wonderful ceiling of Renaissance paintings, and it was just such a memorable experience that I thought it would be quite lovely to create the same effect, well, in a much smaller way, in my garden.
I love the mirror around here, which at the moment is just reflecting the soft cloud cover. It's really beautiful.
When it's sunshine and cloud, you get to see a sort of movement right the way through the garden as you walk around it, and that gives you a lovely kind of dynamism to the garden, so no view is ever the same.
Well, sky's the limit idea and a beautiful garden. Many congratulations.
I hope tonight's preview has whetted your appetite to come down here and visit the show for yourself. We shall be here on Thursday and Friday, and we'll be joined on both days by Alice Fowler, who will be hunting out plant stories and also talking to obsessive plant collectors. We've got an interview with Chris Beardshaw about how he's trained 3 young landscapers to realise his design for...
I'm going to go to town on you. Let's get your top off. Look at your beautiful curves. I am a volcano, ready to blow. Oh, I could eat Bruce, I'm coming in. Peter? Oh. There's intense, then there's crunchy nut bites. You've come to join in.
I feel like I'm dying on here, man.
Make 'em laugh.
Every time they hear my accent and they were like, what, mate, just...
My grandpa said go out and tell
Is
them
there anyone alive in the room?
Some of you have already seen me naked, I know. I'll keep going.
It's a big competition. You're not a big enough